Hello, everyone. Welcome to International Royals TV. Thank you for clicking. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please thumbs up if you haven't already. So today we'll be continuing on with King Charles III, life history. And if you missed out on any of our previous sessions, you'll be able to catch up in the playlist section and on the community tab as well. Previous sessions were called Intro, Early Life and Family and Education, Prince of Wales, which was split into three categories, which concentrated on his military training career, marriages, and then official duties. So today's session is session number 6, and it's going to be about King Charles III's reign. The source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. So let's go. Reign in terms of King Charles III's life history. Charles acceded to the British throne on his mother's death on 8th of September 2022. He was the longest serving British heir apparent, having surpassed having surpassed Edward VII's record of 59 years on 20th of April 2011. Charles was the oldest person to succeed the British throne at the age of 73, surpassing the previous record holder, William IV. I think it's fourth, one and a V, Roman numerals, who was 64 when he became king in 1830. Charles gave his first speech to the nation at 6 p.m. on 9th of September, in which he paid tribute to his mother and announced the appointment of his elder son, William, as Prince of Wales. The following day, the Accession Council publicly proclaimed Charles as king, the ceremony being televised for the first time. Attendees included Queen Camilla, Prince William, and the British Prime Minister Liz Truss at the time, along with her 6 living predecessors. The proclamation was also read out by local authorities around the United Kingdom. Other realms signed and read their own proclamations, as did Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, the British Overseas Territories, the Crown Dependencies, Canadian provinces, and Australian states. In November 2022, the King and Queen hosted the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa during the first official state visit to Britain of Charles's reign. The following March, they undertook a state visit to Germany, where Charles became the first British monarch to address the Bundestag. Hope I pronounced that right. On 6th of May 2023, Charles and Camilla's coronation took place at Westminster Abbey in a ceremony planned for many years under the codename Operation Golden Orb. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia, and we are continuing on with King Charles III's life history. Prior to Charles's accession, reports suggested that the coronation would be shorter, smaller, less expensive, and more representative of different faiths and community groups than that of his mother in 1953, reflecting the king's wish to acknowledge the ethnic diversity of modern Britain. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. Nonetheless, the coronation remained a Church of England rite, including the coronation oath, the anointing, crowning, investing with the regalia, and enthronement. In July 2023, the royal couple attended a national service of Thanksgiving at St. Giles Cathedral, where Charles was presented with the honours of Scotland. That same month, he asked for the profits from Britain's growing fleet of offshore wind farms to be used for the wider public good, rather than as extra funding for the monarchy. Ah, that's nice of him. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia, and we are continuing on with King Charles I's life history, and today's session is called Reign, so we're concentrating on his reign today. Let's continue. And it was announced that the monarchy's share of Crown Estate net profits would be reduced to 12%. In September, Charles became the first British monarch to give a speech from the French Senate chamber during a state visit to France. The following month, he visited Kenya, where he faced calls to apologize for colonial abuses. At the state banquet, he acknowledged abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence, but did not issue a formal apology. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. If you'd like to catch up and check up on any of this, you can do that after this. In May 2024, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak asked the King to call a general election. Subsequently, royal engagements that could divert attention from the election campaign were postponed. In June 2024, Charles and Camilla travelled to Normandy to attend the 80th anniversary commemorations of D-Day. The same month, the King received Emperor Naruhito of Japan during his state visit to the United Kingdom. In July, the annual Holyrood Week, which is usually spent in Scotland, was shortened so that Charles could return to London and appoint a new Prime Minister following the general election. After Sunak's Conservative Party lost the election to Labour Party led by Sir Keir Starmer, Charles appointed Starmer as Prime Minister. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. In October 2024, the King and Queen toured Australia and Samoa. Australia was the first Commonwealth realm Charles visited since his accession. In Samoa, he attended the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting for the first time as head of Commonwealth. The tour was significantly scaled back owing to his cancer diagnosis at the time, with a planned visit to New Zealand among the cancelled events. Charles temporarily paused his cancer treatment during the tour. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. In March 2025, the King received Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky at Sandringham House, just days after the Trump-Zelensky Oval Office meeting. Zelensky later told The Guardian that Charles played a quiet but influential role in altering US President Donald Trump's attitude towards Ukraine. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. Let's check up on any of this after this. You can go on there. The King and Queen initially cancelled a planned visit to Vatican City during their state visit to Italy, but on 9th of April 2025, their 20th wedding anniversary, they visited... let's go again. The King and Queen initially cancelled a planned visit to Vatican City during their state visit to Italy, but on 9th of April 2025, their 20th wedding anniversary, they visited Pope Francis at Domus Sanctae Marthae. Do apologize for my pronunciations. As he was recovering from pneumonia. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. Francis died 12 days later. It's always sad when somebody passes away. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. The King, accompanied by the Queen, made his first visit to Canada as monarch in May 2025 at the invitation of Prime Minister Mark Carney, a trip that took place during a period of tension with the United States after President Trump made comments questioning Canada's sovereignty. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. During the visit, he opened the 45th Canadian Parliament and delivered the speech from the throne, the first time a Canadian monarch had done so in person since 1977. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia, and we are continuing on with King Charles III's life history, and today's session is called Reign. So that's what we're concentrating on today. Let's continue. In June 2025, the King approved the decommissioning of the British Royal Train ahead of its maintenance contract ending in 2027, described by the Keeper of the Privy Purse as part of a commitment to fiscal discipline. Did I pronounce that right? FISCAL? Fiscal? The decision marked the end of 180 years of the royal family's use of a dedicated royal train. In October 2025, during his state visit to the Holy... let's go again. In October 2025, during his state visit to the Holy See, it says that Charles became the first British monarch to pray alongside a pope since the Reformation, joining Pope Leo the 16th. Is X1 and V in Roman numerals? Is that 16? X1 and V. Or is it 14th? X1 and V. I'm not sure with Roman numerals. X1V for the church service in Sistine Chapel of the Apostolic Palace in Vatican City. Later that month, Charles undertook his first official engagement in support of the community, unveiling an opened letter, the UK's first memorial honouring armed forces veterans at the National Memorial Arboretum, sorry, I can't pronounce that, in Staffordshire. On 30th of October, amid continuing controversy surrounding his brother Andrew's association with the American financier and the child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Charles initiated a formal process to remove his style, titles, and honours. Source I'm reading from is Wikipedia. If you'd like to check up on any of this after that, you can. Following Andrew's arrest on 19th of February 2026 on suspicion of misconduct in the public... Following Andrew's arrest on 19th February 2026 on suspicion of misconduct in public office, he expressed his deepest concern and stated that the law must take its course. Source I've been reading from is Wikipedia, and we have been concentrating on King Charles III's life history, and today's session was called Reign. Previous sessions we did was introduction, early life, family and education, Prince of Wales, military training career, marriages, including Lady Diana Spencer and Camilla Parker Bowles. And then the previous session we did yesterday was called Official Duties, and today's session was called Reign. So the next session will be called Health. So hopefully I'll see you later on back for that. If you missed out on this session of today, you'll be able to rewind it to the beginning to hear today's session. I'll leave it running a bit longer for the purposes of that. And also I'm going to put up our poll question. Please do answer our poll question. And also you can catch up in the playlist section and on the community tab. And the playlist is called King Charles III Life History. So you'll be able to follow up in there. We also have Queen Elizabeth II's life history, Princess Anne's life history, Prince Edward's life history, and Prince Philip's life history. And by the time we come to a close of King Charles III's life history, then we'll be moving on to former Prince Andrew's life history, because we already covered the whole of the family, and he's the last member of the royal family from the Queen's children. So we'll be covering him, and we're not going to miss him out. So that'll be next. And then after that, we'll go on to Prince William and then Prince Harry. So I missed this last bit, and it says In April 2026, during a state visit to the United States, Charles became the second British monarch to address a joint meeting of Congress after his mother, Elizabeth II, in 1991.